Welcome to the webinar, Hostels and Hybrid Hotels, Social Travel in the Velvet Underground. Who comes up with these titles anyway? That must be you, Mr. Barnett. Well, today I've got my rose-tinted glasses on because we're looking to the future and we are hopeful of the future. We are positive and we're looking at one of the coolest and most forward-looking segments at all. Sorry, I've got to take these off. I just can't see anything at all. And that's going to be the millennials. Millennials are going to be the first travelers coming back to any market. They're the most experiential travelers. And so hostels and hybrid hotels is the hottest space in travel at the moment. So we're really excited to have a whole bunch of really great speakers. We've got Kuntam from Labdi. We've got Alex Darosh from Mad Monkey. We've got Palmer Meng from Hostel World. We've got Edward Lohman from Slumber Party Hostels. We've got Charlotte and Rosie from Stay the Night, who are in from London. We've got Mark Fenton at Clink, and we've got Louise from Boutique Hotel News. Just a couple of quick things before we get going is that the session is going to be recorded and it will be sent to you about an hour afterwards. So you'll get the presentations and you'll also get the dialogue. And also, please, as we go, just put in your questions into the Q&A and we'll get to the questions at the end. We'll get about 10, 15 minutes at the end to go through those questions. Right, let's get going. Kuntam from Labdi. Kuntam from Labdi, you there?
Yes, hi, Bill and David. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. How are you today?
Good.
Okay, great. Christmas comes early. I can see it, Labdi.
Yep.
Okay, no, brilliant. Tell us a little bit about Labdi. I mean, you were one of the early movers in the hostel sector. I suppose I'm kind of keen to know a little bit about your story, just for those who don't know it, and then maybe we can move on to what was working then. You know, is it working now? How's the market changing? Tell us a little bit about how you started, just a bit about the story, the family story, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think I can't claim that I'm the founder of Labdi because I actually wasn't the one who came up with the whole concept. It was actually an outside-in kind of experiment. My cousin, who's actually in the power generating business, travels a lot, went to Europe, fell in love with backpacking. He came back to Thailand and he thought, why aren't there any more design-led and also more standardized, quality-driven type concept in Thailand? And so that's why, he asked for a little bit of seed money and he started our first one in Ceylon. Eventually, our family said, what are we going to do with this? Are you going to come on full time? Or are you going to go back to power generating? And obviously, I think the choice was quite easy for him. He was working actually part-time at Labdi. He finished work at Power, 6 o'clock, he'd come to this very small office and then worked until midnight every day to get the pilot going. But eventually, I guess, power generating was a little bit more lucrative for him. So he went back to that. I finished one of my projects. That's when also there was a lot of growth in the budget airline segment, a lot of also opening up of travel within Asia. So travelers coming out of China, travelers coming out of India, and a lot more intra-region travel as well. So I thought, this is a segment where I'm very interested in. And I also love backpacking when I was way, way younger. So I took on the challenge. So as to your second question, what was it back then, 7 years ago versus where we are now? I think the industry in Southeast Asia has went on a tremendous growth, a lot more education to the market as well as to our segments. What is a hostel? What is the hybrid? I think there's a lot more market acceptance, but also shifting consumer preference. I think we made a lot of mistakes in our days. We learned quite a few things where, we probably over invested in some things and we could have spent more in other things. So for example, I think if we can compare our product 7 years ago where we were heavily driven by dorms, I think today's in our customer profile anyway, they prefer private rooms and still very much focusing on the experiences, local driven experiences and good service. But that's one shift where we already see in terms of product preference and where we can drive yield. So if you see our products out there, the last 3, we've put a lot more emphasis on the private rooms.
Right. I mean, and when you first started, it was pretty much all dorms. Is that right?
I think we had like, 80% of our inventory being dorms and 20% private. And
that was really because you sort of I mean the hostel model was very well developed in Europe, and maybe that was part of your inspiration putting the dorms together. I mean, what were some of the reasons specifically where you've moved more towards or moving more towards private rooms?
I think it was also we saw the model in Europe where per square meter dorms make sense. Versus in Asia, we get a lot of customers from the Asian market where also they're willing to upgrade and spend more if they can get that privacy. So from our first 2 projects where we had a lot more dorms, we found that we couldn't really drive yield that much on the dorm beds, and we could drive yield on the private room. I mean, our private room rate compete with the likes of like Holiday Inn Express and Ibis. So I think we've established already that our customers anyway, they're willing to spend a little bit more for that, a little bit more comfort and privacy.
I mean, time really flies. It seems you only really just started, but actually you're about to enter your first renovation, I believe, in Siam in central Bangkok. Is that right?
Yeah, I think the product.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's 13 years old, but it's I think it's in a good location. It's right next to the SkyTrain. But the product has been quite losing steam a little bit because a lot of new products came onto market and they're really, really nice product. People, pull out all stops now when they're developing hostels. So the community element, I think in the past, we said we were community driven, but it was mostly like lip service. We didn't really involve and try to get community to come and use our spaces. And with this renovation, we are looking to really bring in partners. I think partners nowadays is key. It's like you can't survive, this crisis, and going forward, you can't do this alone. So,
oh, that's right. I mean, certainly you've got brands in the sector like AirAsia. I mean, I think it was a couple of days ago they launched Good to Go, and that's really a deeply collaborative sector that they're getting into, and lots of different. Have you been inspired by other brands? I know you mentioned Uniqlo in our conversation earlier.
Collaborations and also crossing industry. So I think us in hospitality, we're quite insulated, but Uniqlo has done collaboration since, 10 years ago, and it's always been a success. And it's that element of realizing that, you could make more interesting product that resonate with your customers if you do collaborate with brands that also share your values. So for example, as well, like one of the big brands like Marriott partnered with Grab. So that's also another blurring lines already, who takes what piece of pie in hospitality, and I think it's going to be more and more, cross-sector, cross-branding, etc. So we're also looking at some non-hospitality partners as well.
No, that's great. And it's fascinating because all the markets now can cross borders. So, certainly in Asia, and all the markets are very domestic at the moment. So, creating that sort of hub, that community, that social space in your hotels is only going to be good. Hey, we're almost out of time, but just one last thing. I'm fascinated to know about your Thai brand going international. Just coming at some of your learnings there. You opened in Makati in the Philippines, which is CBD. It's business district in Manila, and you also went to Siem Reap. Just tell us a little bit about those experiences. Good, bad, the ugly.
I think there's a huge learning curve anyone has to go through when entering new markets when it's not your homegrown market. So I think for any investors out there, I think really to spend a lot of time to understand really what's driving that particular market, and also to be able to tap into some of the again, community and domestic type travelers. So then you protect a little bit of your downside when there's downturn like this. So for example, in Makati, I think we hit the nail on its head that we did a focus group. We really understood what domestic market wanted. And that's why I think, that property is doing well. Siem Reap, we struggle quite a bit because I really think we made a mistake by not really understand what drives that market. And I think that's one very expensive mistake we made. But, we learned from that. And I think like going forward, looking at new locations, new country, we do a lot more analysis and we also develop a lot of criteria.
Good. So there's hope and positive vibes for the future. Tam, thank you so much for joining us. Please stick around. We're going to be having a Q&A session right at the end. Thank you. Bill Barnett, over to you, please.
Hi, David. Thanks for some great insight there. I've got Alex DeRock from Mad Monkey. It's kind of great here. We've got Alex. We almost had a throwdown earlier with Edmund Lohman there from us Slumber Party. So we got to watch these two guys. We got to keep them separated. You guys can't get too quiet. Mad Monkey. Love the brand. Love the name. You've got a presentation, Alex, for us today. We kind of wanted to talk a little about what those opportunities are now for conversions, for the products as well. We understand that hostels are about people, but also at the end of the day, one of the great things about this space is the ability to bring products in the market quickly and be able to retrofit products as well and come to market. It's a little different than hotel space. So I think it's a real good discussion. Alex, you want to take it away?
Yeah. Nice to meet you, Bill. So what was the first question? You were saying what makes a great hostel?
Exactly. What is it?
Well, firstly, obviously, a large social space is the key for driving factor for Mad Monkey. So when we look at a location, the first thing we look at is where will the bar be? Where we'll be able to put a swimming pool if we're on an island. Obviously, the swimming pool's not an option. If we're in a city, we're also looking at let me drop down here. Oops, sorry, I think I'm having a problem here. Yeah, so here we go. So Cebu City, for example, the first thing we'll look at with a city will be where are the attractions? Where's the main nightlife? Where is the customers going to be safe, secure, and able to make their way back after hang on, sorry, I'm having a problem there. Yeah, sorry, go back to it. So yeah, where is it more or less likely to be? Noise is not going to be an issue for people coming back late at night when we have a busy bar. Sorry.
Do you want us to take over your slides, Alex?
Yeah, I think that's what's the issue. I'm trying to figure out where we are.
Okay, why don't we take over the slides? But as you're talking about that, so you're obviously looking at that social space, but how important are the guest units? Whether they're shared room, dorm rooms, or single rooms, how important is that product? Are you able to come in and look at a commercial building or something else and take that opportunity? What's the minimum requirement you're looking at for a product?
So normally what we would do is we would go into like a pre-used guest house, perhaps with 40 to 50 rooms, and we would look to break that accommodation line in terms of around 40 to 60% or 30 to 70 would be like Cebu City, where we would have shared accommodation and we would also have private rooms as well.
Okay, so in terms of that. Yeah, in terms of minimum size, when you're looking at the number of, again, hostels are beds, hotel, there's always about thinking how many keys or how many rooms, hostels is all about beds. I know some operators are saying we need 100 beds, we need 200 beds to make money. How important is scale?
So for us, our sweet spot is normally between 100 to 200 beds. We find 100 brings in a good social atmosphere. For example, when you've got 100 people in the hostel and say 20 to 30% are either checking in or checking out, that means that there's always a great atmosphere in the bar or the restaurant in the evening. The greatest concern is once you start to go above 150 to 200 is that you then start to lose those personal touches and it does start to, have a negative effect on the customer's experience. So yeah, in the past, between 100 to 200 is the perfect amount for a Mad Monkey hostel. Yeah, sorry, you seem to be able to share this. I think I'm having problems. So I'm sharing between a computer and a laptop and an iPhone at the moment. So
no worries, no worries.
Yeah.
So this
So
is your
for
Cebu
example,
project, yeah.
Yeah, so here we go. So I'll explain this a bit more clearly now. So Cebu City, this is the kind of typical renovation we've done in a city where we've had, we've taken on a building which might be a guest house before, where the rooftop wouldn't be used other than perhaps for drying laundry. We see this as a perfect opportunity for Mad Monkey because, there's no better view of a city than on top of a roof somewhere. Cebu's the perfect detail of that, in fact, that we were able to convert what you can see as a very industrial looking space into a really nice bar. We actually were also able to install a swimming pool on the roof of Cebu City. As you can see there, on the left-hand side, you can see the bar being built. On the right-hand side, you can see the finished product in a pretty industrial looking setup. There we go, there's the swimming pool. So yeah, we were able to carry out some checks to make sure that this was able to go on top of the roof, of course. But yeah, we were lucky enough to be able to put some supports in and create a really cool vibe up there. In terms of our rooms,
And here I was talking.
Yeah.
In terms of our rooms, Mad Monkey boasts most of its talents on communal and social experience. So our rooms are basic. We keep it clean, tidy, but ultimately we want our customers to be spending most of their time outside, experiencing, the locations that they're staying in, making friends, and enjoying the activities in the bar.
Okay, reception and tours. In terms of that, I think tour revenue is pretty important to the mix. I know with the hostel operators, in terms of ancillary revenue, there's still a lot of opportunities. Unlike maybe hotels, you still get a lot of need for other areas like this, right?
Yes, yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, normally it's a one-stop shop. The customer would walk in and we're able to provide them their tours, their activities, their experiences, or their onward travel, their visas if they're moving to another country. Although a lot of that has obviously gone online now, there's still, we have a very busy reception and tours desk, and we normally put them together closely so that if people are checking in, they can often hear that other people are booking a tour and jump on the tour together.
Just maybe in the case of Cebu City, in terms of, there's always a case of, with hotel, there's always overinvestment issues and everything else. Kind of when you're looking at a budget for a hostel, what's your bellwether about how much you're going to be spending, for the project? Is as much money as you have, or how are you taking that? With a hotel, you'll say, we're going to come back and renovate 5 or 6 years later or 10 years later. What's your view towards kind of investing in a hostel product?
Well, I guess, when we started, it was very much on a shoestring. So we didn't have a lot of money. So it was the cheapest way possible. And it was just focused on about, what we could make that the customers would feel happy, in terms of the rooms, the basic but clean and tidy enough. And we would put all of our focus on creating this, really great socially engaging experience in the bar and with our activities. Over time, obviously, the budgets have increased. But I would say still, like, we're when we go into a project, our budgets are a lot lower than some other hostel brands. As you can see, you've got on here this is actually Gilly Tea.
So we're shifting to resorts now, right? In terms of your mindset towards resorts. Yeah.
I can see there the screen you're sharing at the moment. This is Gilly Tea, where we've gone with like a native build, so it's in keeping with the location that we're in. But also it's also, cost saving for us because we're able to use local builders and local techniques. But then we obviously, have gone with the 5-star touches like the infinity pool, which looks out to the sea, which you can see on this slide here.
Wow, hostels with a 5-star touch at a hostel price, right?
Yes, of course, absolutely. This is
yeah. Just going back for your learnings when you're looking at a resort versus a city product for hostels, how much is your design different, or how much are the social spaces different?
Well, I guess we always focus on having a large bar and swimming pool area, which obviously, despite we're on the beach here, we decided to still go with a pool. So we tend to, on an island resort, we'll put the accommodation at the back, because we're not normally in the need for so many private bungalows with, like, you know, your balconies like you'd get in your traditional resort. We focus on having like the bar area and the reception at the front. So that's obviously, you know, taking up the entrance point. But as you can see on the slide you're showing now, this also creates a lot of, there's a lot of walk-by traffic on the right-hand side here on the bottom photo. So we don't just have our normal, you know, guests coming in to eat and drink and enjoy the atmosphere. We also get a lot of other people from other hostels that would either be passing by or just coming by to use the F&B space.
Any learnings, you know, and, you know, I know with Mad Monkey, you've been in the business quite a few years. And I said, you know, we talked to Tam, maybe before we leave the session, what have you guys learned, good, bad, and the ugly? What's good?
What's good is having customers and no COVID, of course. No, what's good? It's obviously a great experience going into, especially going into a new country and learning a lot about new cultures, and, you know, and employing your team and training them from the start to the finish and watching them grow with you. We've also had the pleasure, especially in Cambodia, working with some organisations where, you know, children have come from very underprivileged backgrounds, and we've been able to give them opportunities to come and start work within the business. And yeah, watching them grow with you and experiencing that part of the being, you know, running the business has been certainly one of the most enjoyable parts.
Okay, I think that's good. Actually, let's just leave it at the good. I mean, the bad, the ugly, there's enough bad stuff in the world right now anyway. So Alex Tarouk from Mad Monkey, thank you so much. We've learned about Cebu City. We've learned about the Gillies as well. David, back to you.
Thanks, thanks, Bill. Thanks, Alex. That was excellent. Right, next up, we've got a Hostel World. Paloma Meng. Paloma, you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What have you got for us?
Well, I would like to give you some presentation on travel trends and what Hostelworks did in the past few months.
Excellent.
Hold on a second. I would like to take over the screen.
Taking over.
Sorry.
Okay, just while Paloma's I'm setting up, just be reminded, please, everyone in the audience, the participants, put your questions in the Q&A, and we'll get to those specifically afterwards.
Can you see me now?
Yes, thank you. You just need to make them full screen.
Yeah, exactly. Give me one second. I'm having two
go.
screens, so that's why. Here you go. So this is the agenda for today. And just seconds, because I got it first versa. It's okay. I will just. Yeah, sorry. So I would like to touch base the global trend and then customer sentiment analysis and the Hostelworks new features. And the last I will give you some summary. As you can see that we read a lot of data, and then we also analyze a lot of information outside of Hostelworks' own database. So we collected McKinsey's report recently, and then the report shows that the full recovery of tourism will be bounced back probably later in 2024. And some areas probably will be a little bit earlier. So then we have good news on vaccines. They're then happily that we maybe will see the domestic travel bounce back first, and then later on international travels. So then, like in China, that we already seen a boom on domestic travel during a lot of holiday seasons. Then something will happen as well in other destinations if the COVID cases remain controlled. And also that we look at the Boston Consulting report published on Tableau, Google, you can actually find it. So then we analyzes the domestic and international travels by search. And then you can see the curve. It's pretty similar with what Hostelworks searches are. Then when the moment that the lockdown restrictions released, like eased, that you can see the booming back with domestic travel. So people still want to travel, and then they still want to go out and see different places. Then some of the nature resorts and nature destinations are getting very popular because people like to drive to some locations, and then they would like to be in the nature and less people crowded. We also did some of the surveys based on 3,000 customers, and then from Hostelworks own database and also apart from Hostel own database. So 50% of customers are based from Europe, and 70% of them are under age 35. Then 48% of guests, they know which destination they want to go, while haven't decided anything yet. And 27% of guests are actively planning their itinerary. 25% trip has been booked or already done in their itineraries. So we also asked, what's your original plan to travel domestically? Then only around 30% of people are saying that they originally planned a domestic travel, but 70% of people saying that they couldn't travel internationally because mainly driven by COVID concerns and travel restrictions. And the key takeaways that we would like to give you from our survey then in July is that there are 11% increase on using private rooms versus dorm rooms. We did the same survey in April. So more and more people are looking for private rooms. Like Tan said from Lofty, that probably next few projects they are going to have would have more balance with private rooms versus dorm rooms. So then, especially for the Asian travelers, that they would rather pay more to stay at a private room. So this is a little bit changing the way of customer demand. And also, guests are concerned with COVID procedures at hostels. So that's why we would like to encourage property to enhance their content, like images, photos, images, and the videos, that whatever you could do, pre-checking emails to assure a safety stay, and then also tell them that what kind of precaution that you did at the hostels, and booking policies. So then we also found that people want to have flexibilities when they make reservations, because that's now in Europe that you have second lockdown. So people would like to have flexibilities to make a reservation if they can change it or if they can cancel it without any penalty. So flexible cancellation policy with free cancellation, short free cancellation days, and also with options to change is always welcome. And the key factors is maintain your reviews, and then also don't forget to extend your rates, set up a different type of rates, such as non-refundable rate, app rate, length of stay rate, early bird, etc. And then our product looked at all of these customer surveys that we decided to create something to showcase the customers that hostel is safe to stay. So we created a sanitation badge, and which hostels actually can click the procedures they did at a hostel and gain this badge. So then at the front, the customer can easily identify it that the hostel already made a lot of efforts. So as I mentioned, flexibility is the key drive for people when they decide to make a reservation online. So if you have a free cancellations or flexible rate plan, is always welcome. From that, we developed a new concept called flexible non-refundable rate. This is actually purely related with COVID, because that we want to allow the customer to be able to cancel the booking or change the dates. And with that, we also rebate 5% of our commission. That is 30% of revenue on top of our own revenue. And 65% of respondents actively planning and booking travel rank value for money as their top factor for choosing accommodation. So we also spend a lot of time to build the promotion platform, allow hostels to offer length of stay, early booker, midweek, and the weekend discounts. And because that's 50% of searches on Hostelworks contains a very long booking window, because people are looking for stays, but then they are not so sure if they can travel next week. So those 50% searches that are more than 7 to 31 booking windows, and for more than 3 nights stay. Then I noticed not that many hostels are aware that we have length of stay promotion. But then you actually can play around with our inbox and then try it, capture the traffic. And there is also chance for hostels to promote with Hostelworks. Our recent campaign is that if the hostels have any free stay vouchers that you would like to give away, for encourage customers to look at your Instagram account. We actually have over 260,000 Instagram followers on Hostelworks' own platform. And then Gen Z and the millennials, they are heavy users for short videos. So that's why we would like to promote hostels through all these short videos on IG Reels. And then all you need is to send your free nights giveaways to giveaway at hostelworks.com. As everyone can see, that diversify your service, your product, and your business. After I talk with so many business owners, it's always the key word that people are bringing to the conversation is we have to diversify our revenue. So same like Hostelworks, we look at what was the past success of Hostelworks, and we look at the future, how travel would look like for hostels. And then we think that technology and innovation would be the key driven for Hostelworks to bring to the hostel frontier. And then that's the reason we aligned with Counter to work with them very closely and provide a free PMS system for hostel operators. And then you can sign up easily with the link, and then you also can join Counter community to get more information. And then another investment we did is on a software company called GoKey, that they not only just sell hardware, smart lock, and they also have software come with. So guests can go contactless and they can check in before they arrive at the hostels. And then the properties can also direct the customer to use different services through their hostel and promote their revenue centers. And lastly, I would like to give five points for the summary is please keep the faith in travel, because if we lose it, that's our team will not know where to go. And I know that everyone loves this industry. And then even we met a lot of very difficult times in 2020. But if we get through it, that's we will be stronger. And then diversify your business. So like Edmund from Slumber Party, he will probably introduce you later. He also started many different type of business concepts and trying to push really hard to make it a success. Like the Hostel from Manila, that they have virtual DJ event every week. And then just trying to get their brand in the hotspot for local market. And Lopdi also did great jobs on social media and trying to get more customers to follow their Instagram or Facebook. Then next one is stay in touch with your clients. In the past few months, we contact with over hundreds of hostels. And then we found that some common sense is that a lot of hostels temporarily closed, but then they don't reply any emails, they don't answer any phone calls. They are very passive in the past. Then this means that you simply just give up your business. If you want to keep your business alive, at least this is some basic things that we should continue doing. Keep contact with your customers and be prepared when things go really wrong. What I would like to say is that we might need to know that somehow we have to set up a contingency plan in the future. And we need to know when we should stop if things get really wrong. Then the last is set up an action plan for 2021 if you haven't done yet. You can set up different rate and availabilities in different scenarios, good or bad or mutual. And you also can look at your competitor set and be more proactive, contact with us, and then discuss how you can use the multiple promotional plan to to sell your rooms first for 2021, because it's just next door. So last, this is my contact information. If you need any help, any support, just feel free to send an email to me or connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you very much.
Paloma, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much for your insights. And I just love the fact that goodness me. Interesting. I love the fact that you're sharing the love. I mean, I was on a panel with Accor and Marriott and Hilton, and I can tell you it wasn't as warm as this. We're going to hand over to you, Edmund. Edmund Lohman, you with us?
You got my name right this time.
Jeez. Okay, sorry, it took a few tries. It's not an easy one.
You got him there. You got him there, Dave.
Man. And for the record, Alex is one of my best buddies.
Edmund, what do you got for us?
All right, so we are going to talk about some of the social elements of Hostel. So can you guys see my screen, I hope?
Perfect, yes.
Great.
You've been practicing.
Here and there. So yeah, I don't know if I can, I'm just trying to see if I can, are you guys seeing this?
Yeah, full screen.
Perfect, cool. So, Slumber Party, I'll talk about us specifically because that's what I know. We started off as a 20-bed hostel, and now this year we're opening a 130-room hotel. So the model has shifted quite a lot. We started with our Slumber Party brand. We're about to open this year our Socialtel brand in Koh Samui. So the one thing that I found is actually that the social aspects of it has actually remained quite consistent, and I'm going to tell everyone a bit today what I've learned from it. So I think the first thing is like knowing what you as an owner or as an operator, what is your vibe and what are you after? And I think that changes throughout probably the life of the owner and also throughout the life of the customer, which is why we created this new brand. Was we realized our customers are getting older, and our customers that came to us a few years ago, they don't want to stay at Slumber Party anymore. They've grown out of it. Now they're looking for something a bit more mature. So, what are you after? Are you a party animal? Something like Slumber Party? Are you socially conscious crusader with a cause? Someone more like Mad Monkey? Are you a chess fanatic? I threw that in because Paloma and I were talking about chess the other day. Are you a sports enthusiast? Or are you like Lepti, where you kind of have a great product and you offer a little bit to everyone? I think it's really important to know where you stand in the market so that you can go and attack that part of the market. And the reason why I say this is recently I read a survey that was talking about angel investors, and it said the typical return on a angel investment into a business is around 15%. But people that are investing in something they know and love, as far as angel investments, they're getting a 50 to 65% IRR. So that shows you just there the difference between passion and just throwing your money at something. So again, like I show this picture here. This is, we started off with a 20-bed place. Now we're designing, a place that's much bigger, and it's still the same thing as Alex said. It's very bar focused, having those elements of, for us, it's DJs, lighting, music, all of these aspects that create a great social experience for the customer. If any one of those things is off, it doesn't really work. So similar to what Alex said, we go into a property and we're always looking first, where can we put the bar? Are we able to put a pool in here? Is there a huge communal area? And that's because, you know, we are a very socially active hostel. When I started, the hostel was very much a reflection of me. I was young, I was single, I was a party animal, I was an outdoor enthusiast. So, and I love meeting people. So I started a hostel that was going to be somewhere I would want to stay. A great bar, a lot of experiences, and, you know, the ability to meet a lot of people. And I think that's important, that you aren't trying to be, I've seen, you know, you spoke of Marriott and Accor. We've watched Marriott and Accor, you know, I'm going to get smacked in the face by someone in Marriott Accor for saying this, but we've watched them try to enter the market several times in this hostel space, and it hasn't been successful. Why is that? I think it's because you don't have someone who's truly passionate about what they're doing in that brand trying to make it happen. I think you have people in a boardroom looking at figures trying to make money. And I think, you know, if you look between Lupti, you look at Mad Monkey, you look at us, you can hear from Kun Tam talking, you can hear from Alex talking. These people are very passionate about what they do. They've lived the band, they've been backpackers. And I think that's hugely important in this space. And I think the customers feel it. I think the customers know when they're not being sold a true experience. They smell it on you when you're just trying to make $1 off them. So yeah, how do you cultivate your experience? For us, it's about communal spaces, big social areas, bars, and our new properties, we're adding in co-working spaces. And our new properties as well, we're adding in restaurants. We're a little late to the game on that one, but it's something new we're doing in our businesses. So, you know, if you're a chess enthusiast, again, I'll go back to what Paloma and I were talking about. Maybe you could do a chess themed hostel. I think it's also really important to remember that there's a niche for everything. Like, there are people that if you made a chess themed hostel that was fully about chess, people would go stay there because it's cool and it's different. Why would you not want to stay there? Or there's in Phuket, I saw the other day a hostel opening that's a totally Harry Potter themed hostel, and I went and checked it out. It's awesome. So it's like, don't get so focused on what you think is going to make money. Focus on what you think is cool and different, and what you love, because that's gonna resonate and stand the test of time way more than just trying to make a buck, I think. They'll ask me, how do we hire people? For us, we look a lot more for attitude than we do experience. We hire a lot of people that are very green, have no experience in the hostel industry. So we're looking for life of the party type people, young, eclectic, they want to make friends, first job or second job, very customer centric people that want to go out and be in the bar every day or in the hostel every day, hang out with people. I think that's one of the best things that you can see as an employer, is when you see that your staff are hanging out in your business on their day off because they have so much fun hanging out there. Which again, I can speak to Lupti on this one. In Phuket, if you go to Lupti Phuket and hang out by their pool, you'll see their staff are there on their days off. I know because we spend a lot of time there, and you'll see their staff are there hanging out because they love where they work so much. And I think creating that environment is really important. And, you know, again, if you're going to do something really niche, that you have a subject matter expert. So for us, it's tours. We have, you know, people that are educated and have a degree in tourism in Thailand and have their tour operator license, and that helps make our tour experience a little bit better and a little bit different than other people's. And how do we hire? I mean, for us, we get a lot of word of mouth. So people who stay with us or have heard about us, reputation. So being known as a great place to work, through guests who've stayed with us and decide they want to come back and work. And then the boring stuff, LinkedIn and job fairs. Those are probably the two smallest places we get staff from. And then another huge element for I think any hostel that's trying to drive revenue and bring people in the door is having a really clear programming like of events, live events, pub crawls, tours, whatever it might be that you're going to do, that you have really clear programming, because these are the things that get your guests to extend and stay that extra night. These are the things that get them to go on your adventure or your experience rather than the tour operator down the street, because yours is unique and they're going to hang out with a bunch of friends at the hostel rather than go out with a few people they've never met, might be families, whatever. You know, having great parties that are safe and over the top, and also cultivating that environment where people meet other people at the hostel and you're remembered as a place where people came together and they made their best friend at slumber party, or they made their best friend at, you know, whatever hostel. That if you can create that experience where they meet other people there. I mean, we've had people over the years, we've had people get married in our hostel. We had people who came back and said, I met at your hostel. We had our baby at your hostel. You know, it's happened. So for us, what we really look at is clear programming, which I mean, these are the three pillars of what we look at. Clear programming, which drives reviews, and reviews drive revenue. Probably our biggest thing that we focus on in our business is, are we getting great reviews? Because if we're getting great reviews, we find that everything else falls in place. And that's always been a kind of battle cry within our business from day one. If good reviews are coming in the door, every other thing is firing. When you see that the reviews are starting to fall, then you have a problem, and you can almost inevitably see that you're losing revenue, or things are starting to slide in every other aspect of the business. So yeah, I think to wrap it all up is, you know, have a clear metric and mission. Ours is reviews and adventure hard, party hard. Know what you're doing and why. So being able to answer the question articulately, I think, makes it easy for you to stand apart from the pack, and also motivate and inspire your team. And, you know, hire people that embody your culture and have a clear programming schedule. So I hope that was 8 minutes or less and you enjoyed.
Edmund, superb. Thank you. Thank you. Really good stuff. A lot about the bar, the DJ, the lighting. I'm going to get back to you on some other elements, you know, food, wellness, health, and a little bit later on the Q&A. Are these elements they're going to be part of hostels in the future? But before we do that, we're going to go to London. Hey there in London, Charlotte Hall and Rosie Willen from Stay the Night. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Just sorting out our presentation. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. Can you see that?
Yeah, great, please. Maybe just make it full screen.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Cool. So yeah, hi, I'm Rosie and this is Charlotte, and we're from Stay the Night. And so we're a specialist marketing agency. And we specialize in hybrid hospitality brands. So that includes hostels and hybrid hotels. And so today we're going to talk about how to attract the new wave of digital nomads. And the reason we chose this topic is obviously digital nomads are nothing new, but the pandemic's really accelerated the move towards remote work. And we think we're going to continue to see that in 2021. And so people who are traveling are going to be looking for flexible workspaces in the places they stay. And actually Airbnb recently reported a 128% increase in searches using the terms relocation and remote work. That was in July to September this year versus the previous year. And so it is a growing market. And this is a huge opportunity for hostels and for hybrid hotels. But digital nomads are a different type of traveler to your typical tourist. They have different needs. And that's why we wanted to cover this. And we're quite well placed to speak on this because our business is location independent, and we've lived the digital nomad life a little bit ourselves. And we know that brands may need to adapt their marketing in order to reach digital nomads and convince them to book. And so we're going to share 4 ways that you can do that. The first is know who you're talking to. So whether digital nomads have already been a target market for your hostel or hotel, or whether it's a new market you're tapping into, you're going to want to know exactly who you're talking to so you can strategize accordingly. And the goal here is to make your audience feel like you're speaking to them directly. And so step 1 into doing that is delve into your data. Use Google Analytics and social media insights to get an idea of key demographics, age, location, gender, and look at what's been driving traffic and bookings in the past too, so you can see what sort of content has resonated with your current audience. And then from that, don't forget your reviews too. We found when we're making our client strategies, we always look at reviews to see what the booking motivations have been for past guests, and also just as importantly, what's prevented past guests from booking. And this can really inform your strategy. And then the second step is do your research. So once you have that basic demographic data, you're going to want to go one step further and think about what values your audience hold and what motivates them. So as I said, digital nomads are different to your typical tourist. So as well as fast, reliable Wi-Fi, which is a must, and a great space to work, they place a huge value on community. They want to meet people that they can collaborate and network with. They also value experiences, as do all travelers, but particularly around wellness and personal development, because they want to keep those habits that they have at home. So your meditation, your yoga, they want to keep those as part of their like healthy working day. And then in their downtime, they want to really get under the skin of the destination that they're in. And then finally, you can use this information to design your guest personas. Now, guest personas are a fictional profile of your guests, and it's based on the data and the research that you've done. If you have used this tool before, it might be something that we find people make them and then they're kind of tucked away in a strategy and they're only looked at every quarter. But for us, it's something that needs to be at the forefront of your mind, really, when you're doing your marketing, so you can make sure that the content you're making and the communications you're putting out are really resonating. And 2 tips around this point. So first of all, if you already have a community of digital nomads, if you have a workspace and people using your workspace, just speak to them directly, reach out via email marketing, and really get their feedback and tap into that. And if you don't already have that, if this is a new market that you're coming into, there's a website called nomadlist.com, which is a huge forum for digital nomads. And if you go on the forums section of that site, you can see the kind of conversations that digital nomads are having and what issues they're bringing up. And you can also filter this by country, so you can make it even more specific to your location. So that's a tip there.
Hi everyone. So once you've got that deeper understanding of the values and the motivations that remote workers will have to book, it's time to create content that actually resonates, that they're interested in. We know, and you know, that a lot of people book with hostels for the experience, but it's really important to actually show that online. That can sometimes go down the list of priorities. There's a number of ways that you can really do that. First, to show social proofs, whether that's a past review, whether that's user-generated content from past guests or current guests. And it's actually 85% more trusted than what your brands say about yourself, because people are able to see guests just like them have the experiences with you. You can also do a day in the life where you kind of follow around in a non-stalkery way a guest. And so that kind of potential remote workers and potential guests can get an insight into the community and the vibe that you crave. With remote workers and digital nomads, because they tend to stay in a destination much longer, they're also looking for more practical tips, and also they're going to be living there. So whether it's a guide on apps to make life easier in your destination, or a practical guide on getting around the neighborhood, kind of content like that, whether it's a blog or a video, is really good.
Great. And once you've got that targeted content, you can really take it a step further by using tailored landing pages. So landing pages are standalone web pages that are used to target specific guest segments, and they describe what a guest lands on when they click on a link, a campaign link. And it's really good because you can really make something of value for that specific segment rather than just trying to capture anyone and everyone. And when you combine landing pages with paid ads, for example, you can achieve a much higher ROI. So for example, when we introduced this for one of our clients to their paid ads, we increased conversions by 43%, and they achieved an ROI of 18-1. So for every pound they spent on their ads budget, they got £18 back in increased revenue. So it's a pretty powerful tool to have at your disposal. And so when it comes to building your landing pages, simplicity is key. You don't want to clutter the page with a lot of different information. If people want all the information about your brand, they can go to your website. And so keep it simple. And to do that, our top tip is to follow the rule of 1. So have one target audience for each landing page, in this case, digital nomads. Have one key message. So it might be that you're promoting an extended stay offer, and then have one call to action in the form of a book now link usually. Or it could be if you have a neighborhood guide, for example, and you're earlier in the advertising funnel, you might want them to download that. That could be the CTA too. And so once you have the landing pages up and running, remember to track. And we recommend split testing too, which is where you run 2 at the same time alongside each other, and you can see which are converting better and that where you want to put your ads budget.
Okay. Next up is harnessing the power of packages. And when Rosie just mentioned about landing pages, we really recommend promoting your package via a landing page. And there are a number of benefits to your hostel or hotel with this. And that's firstly increased revenue. So Expedia report found that guests who bought packages spend a lot more compared to those who just bought a standalone room, let's say. And they also pay on average around 30% more in ADR. So you can really increase kind of the perceived value of the guest experience and the financial yield from bookings too. Also, with packages comes increased direct bookings. It differentiates yourself from competitors as well as OTA, because they won't be able to get the experience that you're offering anywhere else. And they've also been found to have longer stay windows too. But it's not just you that benefit from this, it's also your guests too. So it's a lot easier, it's a lot more convenient, budget friendly, and there's so much less stress for them. If they're relocating, they're moving to a new place, they've got so much on their plate, but they know that a lot of the things that they're thinking about come from one brand, and it's all included in one price. But it's really important to kind of go beyond the typical like 15% off when you book directly. People, that they're wary that they're not actually getting 15% off anymore, and they're just kind of a little bit bored of it, that they know it's not that. So we really recommend doing value-based offers, whether that's an add-on of food and beverage that you offer, an experience, whether that's from you or a local partner. It's really, really important to add something beyond the percent off. A really good example of this is Selena Co-Live multi-rental kind of program. They've packaged together accommodation, a co-working space, daily wellness classes. They have done a percent off their on-site foods and experiences. It's all packaged together, and it sounds and looks so easy for people. Thank you for listening to us. These are just some of the tips that we have on this. For more, you can go to our website, you can get in touch with us. We share weekly blog posts with tons of advice and a variety of your marketing. So come and join us.
I hope that was under 8 minutes.
Right on the nail, Charlotte and Rosie. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Right, Sumi, you've got a video to play for us, please. And it's Eloise Hansen from Boutique Hotel News is interviewing Mark Fenelon from Click. Please, let's have a look at it.
Okay. So, hi there. My name's Eloise Hansen, news editor at Boutique Hotel News. We're an online B2B news source for the boutique, luxury and lifestyle sector, published by International Hospitality Media. I'm joined here today by Mark Fenelon, CEO of Clink Hostels, and we're going to talk about how consumer taste and travel behaviour has changed and how hostels in Europe are operating in a COVID-19 environment. So let's begin, Mark, with an introduction. Let's introduce ourselves to our audience.
Super. Eloise, thank you so much for firstly having me on. Delighted to be here as ever. This is a super brand, and so delighted to kind of give the input from a hostel point of view. So briefly, myself, Mark Fenelon, CEO of Clink Hostels. I started about 3 years ago, really to help grow the business because the market's evolving a lot, and to grow the fabulous Clink brand. Clink is the 7th largest hostel in Europe. We operate in 5 locations across 2 cities. We're developing in Dublin and Lisbon. And we feel we have something special. It's all about experiences. We pay a huge amount of focus on our guests, and happy to share whatever insights I can.
Thanks, Mark. So let's dive straight in then. And I'd like to ask, what is your core demographic now looking for in their choice of brand or accommodation?
Yeah, so our core demographic, you can say it's 18 to 30s. I prefer not to use the Gen Z millennial labels. So it's basically younger generation. They very much want its experiences. It's about connections. It's about discovery. It's not a head to bed. They want a lot more. If you say our market, we've been around for one of the first. We set up in early 90s. So we know the hostel market very well. And I think we've seen tastes and needs and requirements evolve a lot, particularly in the last 5 years. And I think with COVID, we're seeing another acceleration happen. Our guests would have been traditionally more backpackers, but now it's opened up to, we call them city explorers, people who want to get off the beaten track. You have the mates who, be it a stag or hen or just a getaway, but solo travelers are huge. They're 50% of our guests, and they want to meet, connect, and have a different experience. So what I'd say the big changes we've seen is I think there's been a change in the standards of hostel accommodation. And you could say that Booking.com and Hostelworks have put that distribution much wider out. People love what hostels offer, but they want a more modern slant to it. And our brand's very much focused about, we call it Backpacker 2.0. So all the great fun of meeting people, having experiences, but maybe without the grunge, or maybe without the harder. So for example, all our rooms are en suite, soundproofed. We put a lot into our design and build out, but it's to have that great, hopefully create that great experience for our guests at the other end. But probably the big change, in addition to kind of a wider audience and more people traveling, and is that people actually want brands to stand up. They want brands to be accountable. They want brands to stand for something. I think the days are short-lived, to be honest, where if brands aren't taking some action, it's small action, none of us are perfect, and Clink is far from it, but take some action, conscious action for change. And I think, you know, in our recent survey, we went out to 3,000 guests. We had 700 responses from 36 countries. And two of the big wow comments, and this goes back to the changing needs, 86% said they felt companies weren't doing enough on social, environmental, on their key needs, mental health. Travel is important to young people as well. So on the key needs of 1830s, companies, 86% they felt weren't doing enough. 72% said they would make a conscious decision to work with or to use brands that are more connected. So now I suppose, is that big? And I guess I know there's a question about what can hotels learn from hostels. You know, we're talking about 40% of the population here. so I think that standing up, being accountable, being responsible is a big change that will continue.
Mm-hmm. And looking then at Europe, I know you mentioned you operate in 5 locations. I mean, how are hostels operating in this now COVID environment? What's new and what's different?
Yeah, there's plenty new. Look, it's been challenging, same with all hospitality, I think. Obviously for hostels, you have shared accommodation, which does make it a little bit trickier, but there's kind of, I think for hostels, and again, I really start with the negatives, but it's probably worth putting the context. If hostels are about experiences, it's hard to have experiences under the COVID rules. So, but hostels, I think, are very entrepreneurial, very, very proactive and move quickly. And I think that's probably an advantage because it's just smaller communities. Of course, it's adhering to all the rules, that's first and foremost. It's getting accreditation with worldwide associations. It's improving the hygiene standards, as in we would feel we've hotel hygiene standards. Pre-COVID, we've upped that again. If anything, we've erred on the side of caution. We've closed down a lot of our rooms, or we've minimized beds per rooms. If there's shared facilities, there's rotas of who can access. So in that way, we've created a very safe environment. I think probably if one of the bigger challenges for all hospitality is people aren't blooming and flying, right? So that you know, kind of the hose pipe of our guests are turned off. And so I think, like hotels, hostels have had to pivot and react very quickly. So we've looked at mid-stay. But the great thing is it's on brand for us because we want to create community. We want to give back to our community. The community's inside the guests and also outside. And mid-stay, I suppose the question we've asked is, well, what's the difference between someone staying 3 nights or 3 months? It's the same draw and attraction into Clink that makes people want to stay. So we found that pivot, it's been tough, but easier than we thought. I suppose other changes, it's obviously your staff welfare is very important, and probably like all hospitality, over communicating, being very upfront. Every hospitality providers had to take some hard decisions as well. So they're just some of the points, some of the changes.
I Thank you. Well, I do wish you all the best on your journey.
Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you.
so
No, and
welcome.
thank you, Eloise, for the opportunity to talk.
You're very welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you today. And thanks to our audience as well for tuning in. I do hope you all have a good day, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Eloise and Mark, that was awesome. Thank you very much. Right, we're almost out of time here, guys. When we go over the hour mark, people do start to drop a little bit. So we're just going to get some quick fire questions, and we're just going to jump straight in on social spaces. Social spaces has been talked about quite a lot during our conversation. Kuntam, I just want to know very quick answers from everyone, please. So Kuntam, you first on the social space, then I'm going to go to you, Edmund. So it's just regarding your new place in Siam. What is new about your social space? What is driving people to come?
I think flexibility is key, and also diversity. I think like with COVID, everyone realizes, sometimes they want to be social, sometimes they want a quiet moment. So it's about arranging that and be able to sort of change as the needs go by.
Thank you. Edmund, you talked a lot about bars, you talked a lot about pools, you talked a lot about hard partying. Is that still the future? What about health and wellness and organic cuisine?
I think there's space for both. And I think there always will be space for both. I don't think that's going to ever change in the market, but we're developing a health and wellness brand right now that will probably launch in 2021. It's called Path. And we've already secured a site on it, but I believe that there's going to be a little bit more space for everything. I do think that people are going to look for these more secluded experiences like, the glamping and the health and wellness, but I think partying will never go out of style.
Nice. I hope not too. Alex, a slightly more boring question for you, I'm afraid, but it has come up in the questions, and it's over to you. Short-term bookings. There was a question that there was about bookings are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, particularly in the hostel space. How do you cope with short-term bookings? How do you automate them? How do you take them? How do you manage them?
I guess I don't think that's ever going to go away, because people always want to be able to make last-minute decisions, especially in our industry. What we have done is we've had a golden ticket during COVID, where we've offered people to book ahead of time with a large discount, and we've seen a great uptake on that.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. Just quickly on the social spaces, is it going to be out with the bars, in with the health food?
I think we're going to mix both. We're going to certainly start to, and we already have started to change some of our menus. But I think, human beings are social. And as Edmund said, the party's never going to go away.
Okay, great. All right, marketing. We're going to go have a little look at marketing here. Paloma, marketing, TikTok. We've not mentioned TikTok. I can't believe it. Is TikTok important?
Well,
in marketing hostels?
I think that's I just replied to the message, and then if they want to know more, that they can contact me later on. And then I am not the marketing expert, and then that the first thing of OTA is to target on our demand side, because it's very slow at the moment. And I think anything we are looking at TikTok probably will be waiting until that the market bounce back. Then right now, our focus is on our existing traffic that sits with Facebook and Instagram with limited people in the marketing team. And then also that I'm sure that a lot of people will search the highest conversion, I think, is still with Google and search engines. So then people land with Google or Google HPA, and then those are the main traffic that bring into different OTAs. So then if we look at TikTok or any other social media channels, I think it is key to look at conversion, not just only the popularity. You may have 1 million people follow you, but then your conversion is really poor. So then It's good to have. I will find more with our CMO. It's a good question for him this week. Thank you.
All right, Charlotte and Rosie, what do you got? I mean, a hostel, how can a hostel choose their social channels? Should they be looking at TikTok, versus Facebook, versus Instagram, et cetera, et cetera? Just give us a little bit of insight on your thinking.
Yeah, I think it depends obviously on your target market. When it comes to TikTok, it's something that needs to be quite intuitive. So you're going to need to get your team involved in making the content, because it's not really somewhere for curated content as such. And when it comes to TikTok advertising, it can be quite expensive, because they ask you to throw in $500 per campaign as a starting point. And so I'd say if you want to get into TikTok, focus on kind of putting out organic content on there, seeing how it hits with your audience before you put that sort of money towards it, I'd say, and always keep a balance across social media platforms. We see Instagram as probably the biggest focus at the moment, but TikTok is huge, and there's a huge potential to go viral. I hate that term, but there's a huge potential to go viral with good content. So yeah.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Thanks very much for that. Bill Barnett, you still with us?
Well, yeah, I hope I am. This has been a great session. Because what's
thank you.
Am I still live? Okay. I mean, you got to love anything where it's bar centric, right? You know, starting off, that's why we love the hostel space, because we do have the bars and everything else. What's exciting about this space for me is that, you know, in terms of being COVID ready, everything else, hostels aren't pigeonholed like hotels. There's no welcome drinks. There's not buffets. There's none of this fucking nonsense. Okay. You can be whatever you want to be in this space, and this space can reinvent themselves coming out of this crisis. And to me, that's an exciting space. So I think, you know, stay tuned for the hostels. I think it's a great space to be in. And, you know, what it is going to evolve into something which is completely different, perhaps in a year from now or 2 years from now, but it can reinvent much faster than other spaces in the hospitality business. So all hail hostels. We love you guys, doing a great job. And tomorrow we're actually going to have one more webinar, which is called The Buzz, talking about Phang Nga and Khao Lak. And this is a great example talking about domestic tourism, where Instagram tourists have created surfing scene here in Thailand and everything else. It's how you go fast to market and create a buzz through Instagram. So tune with us tomorrow. Again, our mission here with Delivering Asia Communications C9 is to keep a conversation going through these times, because we're gonna come out better people and we're gonna come out better businesses in the end. So thank you for all for tuning in today for the hostel things. Again, great session as well, and stay tuned to these great brands here. Love D, certainly, you know, who are our friends there. Mad Monkey, certainly, you know, this whole thing with Alex going on at Edmund, I don't know how that's going to turn out, certainly with, you know, Slumber Party. And you guys in London, you guys got up at 8 o'clock. Please go get a coffee, you know, whatever you're doing, please go get a coffee there. And thank you again. David, we're done.
Oh, no, I think we're done. Kuntam, Alex, Paloma, Edmund, Charlotte, Rosie, Mark, Eloise. Thanks very much, Bill.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for joining. Cheers.
Thanks. Cheers.